Princess. She went from the most broken card in the game to completely useless in less than 6 months. Princess launched February 2016 as the first ever legendary card. Her range was absolutely insane. She could snipe towers from the opposite lane while safely hiding behind your king tower. Her splash damage cleared entire goblin gangs, skeleton armies, minion hordes without breaking a sweat. And here's the crazy part. At tournament standards, she survived arrows with 1 HP. One single hit point. That made her basically unkillable by the most popular spell in the game. She dominated every meta deck, you name it, Princess was in it. She had insane usage at top ladder and grand challenges. She was literally untouchable. March 2016, barely 3 weeks after release, Supercell drops an emergency nerf. Massive hit point reduction. Now, arrows one-shot her at tournament standard with 0 chance of survival. Your massive gem investment, dead on arrival every single match. But Supercell wasn't done. August 2016, they slash her splash radius. She couldn't clear distant swarms anymore. Goblin gang spread could survive, skeleton army flanks lived. Can't snipe goblin barrel from your king tower. Can't safely clear minion hordes without perfect placement. All her unique value, gone. Usage dropped overnight. She went from oppressive meta staple to fragile niche support, only viable in X-Bow or log bait. Players absolutely exploded. Forums flooded with Princess Who, memes, mocking her irrelevance. This was the first wave of legendary backlash. People realized Supercell would nerf your $100 investment into the ground without hesitation. Community coined the phrase Supercelled to describe cards getting nerfed immediately after people spent money, but that's nothing compared to what they did to the next card, Hog Rider. The card that defined fast cycle decks got hit so hard that Reddit declared him dead. Hog Rider was the aggressive card since launch. He jumps the river, hits fast, chips towers relentlessly. He fueled every hyper-aggressive meta. Hog Freeze rushes, the legendary 2.6 Hog Cycle with Ice Spirit and Skeletons, Trifecta with Musketeer and Valkyrie. Nearly 3 out of every 4 top players ran him as their win condition mid-2016. If your opponent didn't have buildings, you basically won automatically. June 2016. First nerf hits with a damage reduction, annoying but survivable. Most Hog players could adapt. Then, December 2017, Supercell drops the nuclear bomb. Dual nerf. Hit speed slowed and first attack delay extended. That delay change was devastating. Buildings like Cannon, Tesla, Bomb Tower could now pull him earlier and kite him perfectly every single time. What used to be risky prediction plays became consistent positive trades. Hog versus Cannon now felt like a loss. Win rates tanked hard. Reddit absolutely erupted with Hog is dead memes, compilation videos of failed hits, mock funeral posts. Supercell basically said, we prefer defensive gameplay over fast rushes. They were intentionally slowing the meta. This forced the entire game into slower pressure cycles. The entire pacing of Clash Royale shifted because one card got overcorrected. And speaking of defensive cards, this next one got gutted even worse. Inferno Tower. Supercell nerfed this thing so many times they basically removed it from the game. Inferno Tower launched January 2016 as the ultimate tank killer. Insane lifetime, massive hit points, exponential damage ramp that melted anything. It shut down every single beatdown deck. Giant, Golem, Lava Hound, Balloon. Anything with high HP died in seconds. Massive usage rate, because it literally locked tanks in place until they melted. Forced offensive players to carry Lightning, Zap, or Freeze, specifically to counter one building. Community nicknamed it Unferno and Paywall Tower because it paralyzed any tank strategy. February 2016, first nerf hits and cuts his lifetime significantly. But Supercell wasn't satisfied. November 2016 rolls around, even shorter lifetime, plus an HP nerf on top of it. Now Lightning could one-shot it completely, and Fireball plus Zap killed it too. February 2017, they come back with more mechanical tweaks just to make sure it stayed weak. Then, July 2019, the final execution. They cut the lifetime in half and added full Zap reset vulnerability. At this point, any tank with a healer just walked straight through it like it wasn't even there. A cheap 2 elixir Zap could completely neutralize an expensive 5 elixir building. That's just embarrassing. Usage cratered hard. It eventually dropped to almost nothing. Tesla and Bomb Tower completely took over as the new defensive buildings. Beatdown decks suddenly became viable again after suffering through years of Inferno oppression. Control deck purists absolutely mourned the loss like someone died. There were entire forums dedicated to RIP Inferno nostalgia posts. Community polls ranked it as one of the most unfun changes ever made to the game. Pro players were out here praising the meta diversity and deck variety, while casual players were raging in the comments about endless golem pushes they couldn't stop anymore. But if you think that's brutal, Wait until you hear about Night Witch. Night Witch. The Night Witch used to be the nightmare of anything that came too close. Night Witch dropped October 2016 as the ultimate air support. Spawned bats constantly while alive, plus a bunch more on death. Those bats flew, so they dodged all ground area damage. Golem Night Witch double beatdown became the most oppressive strategy ever. The sky was literally black with constant bat swarms. Insane win rate in challenges. This wasn't a strong card, it was game-breaking. Players who didn't have her couldn't compete. Community called her Nightmare Witch. First emergency nerf drops barely 1 month after release. They slow down the bat spawn speed and reduce the death bats. Players thought, okay, this should fix it, but nope, she was still completely broken. Win rates barely moved. August 2017 comes around and Supercell decides to go full nuclear option. Triple nerf in one single patch. Spawn speed slowed down again, death bats slashed even harder, damage gets reduced and the range gets trimmed. Her total bat generation absolutely destroyed across the board. Win rates completely collapsed. She went from the highest win rate card in the entire game to borderline unplayable trash in just 2 months. Golem decks had to scramble and completely pivot to Baby Dragon and Mega Minion instead. Players were absolutely furious that Supercell would release a blatantly broken card, let people drop serious money to unlock her, then murder her into irrelevance exactly 60 days later. Legendary cards at that time were not easy to obtain. Release a new overpowered card, drive up the sales, nerf it into complete irrelevance, ignore the community outrage, then repeat the whole cycle with the next card. And that's just card balance changes. The next ones aren't even about cards, they're way worse. Supercell literally removed an entire progression system and told free-to-play players to deal with it. The Season Shop launched in the mid-2020s as the endgame grind for free-to-play players. It was a token-based economy where you'd complete quests, challenges, donations, and wars to accumulate tokens, then spend them on exactly what you needed. Wild shards, evolution shards, books, exclusive cosmetics, all available through grinding. This wasn't just some bonus feature, this was the endgame. High arena players relied entirely on it to max their decks without spending a single dollar. It boosted free-to-play progression massively. The daily and weekly token accumulation meant you had consistent, predictable progress towards specific cards you actually needed. It completely removed the pure RNG element and gave players actual control. April 2025, Season 70 launches and the patch notes bury one single line at the bottom. Season Shop has been removed, no warning beforehand, no preview period, no community feedback asking if this was a good idea. Just deleted overnight like it never existed. All your saved tokens, not a Supercell problem. Those thousands of tokens you were carefully saving up for evolution shards, deleted from your account with absolutely no refund. The rewards got shoehorned into a heavily diluted Pass Royale tier system with way fewer shards available. Event shops would occasionally offer random items, but never with the consistency or value of the Season Shop. Targeted progression dropped massively overnight, trade tokens completely dried up because the shop had been the primary source for getting them. The community absolutely erupted. Players called it a blatant revenue grab designed to force free-to-play players into buying Pass Royale or quitting the game entirely. Content creators reported massive player retention drops in the weeks following the removal. Supercell eventually put out a response admitting the Season Shop had low visibility and it was easier to remove than redesign. Translation, not enough people were buying Pass Royale, so they just deleted the free-to-play alternative to force conversions. Simple as that. And if you're not subscribed yet, do that now, because this next one is somehow even worse. What would you do if your favorite game replaced a system that wasn't very good with one that was even worse? Classic chest removal. They took away the one reliable progression system and replaced it with slot machines. The classic chest system existed since launch, 9 full years. It was a predictable cycle that players could track and plan around. You knew exactly when your next big chest was coming. Giant chests, epic chests, legendary chests, all followed a set pattern. Free-to-play players could farm specific cards with way better efficiency by timing their chest unlocks strategically. Those steady, guaranteed unlocks meant tons of gold and cards every single month. The entire free-to-play maxing timeline depended on this predictable system. Community tracking tools and guides use the chess cycle to help players plan out their entire progression path. In March 2025, the Q1 update hits and classic chests get completely replaced with lucky drops. 9 years of established, predictable progression obliterated in one single update. The new system? Daily capped lucky drops with completely random rarity, Low star chests became the average drop you'd get, trash tier rewards across the board, gold, commons, rares, epics, everything became probabilistic gambling now. Zero guarantees on anything. Your saved chest keys that you'd been hoarding strategically converted to pathetic gold amounts that barely covered a single upgrade. No more epic chest planning, no more guaranteed legendary chest every cycle. Just pure slot machine RNG with no way to track or predict what was coming next. The community backlash was massive. Biggest outrage since the season shop removal. Pro players started calling it a gambling nerf and RNG hell in their videos. Progression got literally cut in half for non-spenders. Free-to-play maxing timelines extended from a few years to over half a decade overnight. Players started sarcastically calling the game Defend Royale because it didn't matter if you won or lost battles. You'd get complete garbage either way. Lose for trash or win for trash, same result. And the worst part, that wasn't even Supercell's first time completely screwing over progression systems. Elite wildcards were implemented at level 15 as a new way to max out your cards. By collecting a certain number of them, you could reach the maximum level for any card in the game. Sounds good on paper, right? But here's the problem. Elite wildcards came from rarity overflows, which means when you maxed out a card, any excess you got converted into tiny amounts of elite wildcards. Magic items would give you some too, but at absolutely terrible conversion rates. Storage was capped, so you couldn't even hoard them efficiently. And the drop rates? So bad that grinding genuinely felt pointless. You could open hundreds of chests, get basically nothing useful, and still need massive amounts to upgrade even a single card. Then, the 2025 level 16 update hits, and everything gets worse. Supercell converts all your elite wildcards to gems at terrible rates. Players who had been hoarding thousands got pennies in return, and those gems couldn't even buy a couple level 16 upgrades. Supercell literally devalued 2 full years of grinding and removed most of its value in one conversion. The community was furious. Most players felt completely betrayed by the broken promise. They had grinded for 2 solid years thinking level 15 was the permanent endgame cap. Nope. Supercell just extended the paywall again, doubled back on their final level cap lie, and completely invalidated everyone's grind overnight. Free-to-play players realized the grind would literally never end. Every couple of years, it's the same thing. Another level, another currency, another broken promise. At this point, players are no longer surprised. Mega Knight. Supercell nerfed him before casual players could even get him, and the outrage was legendary. Mega Knight launched in May 2017 as a massive 7 elixir splash monster. Huge spawn damage on entry, huge jump damage on every single leap. He could wipe entire pushes just by existing on the map. Log bait decks became completely unplayable against him because he hard countered every single bait card in one drop. Bridge spam decks with Mega Knight absolutely dominated ladder with massive usage rates. It looked like an impossible card to stop. Casuals watched pros destroying everyone with him and immediately spent money on legendary chests specifically trying to unlock Mega Knight. Then, February 2018 hits. And here's the thing, this happens before most free-to-play players even manage to unlock him. The nerf drops. Massive damage slash across the board. Spawn and jump damage completely gutted. This totally changed his value proposition. Now goblins could survive the spawn damage. Goblin gangs survived if you spread them properly. His area denial capability got cut dramatically overnight. You actually had to precisely time your jumps instead of just brainlessly dropping him anywhere for guaranteed value. Players who had spent real money to unlock him early were absolutely furious. They paid for that massive damage output and suddenly got way less. Free-to-play players who were still grinding toward unlocking him, they just stopped completely. Why would you chase a card that just got nerfed into the ground? Usage tanked hard within 1 season. The community split completely down the middle. Casuals were out here celebrating like finally no more jump spam, and that crutch card is dead. Meanwhile, Mega Knight mains absolutely exploded with rage posts everywhere. The memes were brutal. Imagine spending money on a legendary and Supercell nerfs it before you can even use it. This established the pattern that smart players learned fast. Never buy new cards immediately on release. Always wait a few months for the inevitable nerf, then decide if it's worth it. Supercell basically admitted, yeah, we released him overpowered on purpose, let people buy him. Now, we're balancing him properly. Classic mobile game strategy. Now look, I'll admit that nerfing Mega Knight is never really a bad thing. But here's the real point. Supercell only helps free-to-play players and fixes broken cards when they're actively losing players. They let the card stay overpowered long enough to drive sales, then nerf it once the damage is done. Elixir Collector. Supercell nerfed this card 4 separate times until literally nobody used it anymore. Elixir Collector was the economy card since launch. Decent elixir cost, tanky build, and it generated elixir over time. Play it twice, and you're permanently ahead on elixir for the rest of the match. It powered every single expensive deck archetype: P.E.K.K.A, Bridge of Spam, Golem Beatdown, X-Bow Cycle, Three Musketeers Split Lane. All of them needed Collector to function. It was tanky enough to survive a Fireball hit. Lightning was a neutral elixir trade. Rocket was actually negative for your opponent. It basically forced a spell commitment or you did just snowball out of control. The strategy was dead simple. Drop Collector in the back, your opponent either spells it or you run away with the elixir advantage and win. Made 2016 first nerf hits with a brutal hit point reduction. Now Fireball plus Zap could kill it completely, destroying its entire defensive value. July the 2016 comes around. Second nerf removes its stun and slow immunity. Now it's vulnerable to Freeze, Ice Spirit, Electro Wizard, everything. December 2018, the final execution. Even more hit point cuts, and it gets removed from the starting hand completely. That starting hand removal was absolutely devastating. You couldn't open the match with Collector anymore. The entire early elixir advantage strategy just gone overnight. Fireball could now one-shot it at equal levels. Lightning profitably murdered it. Even Poison became a viable counter. Over 2.5 years, Supercell systematically destroyed every single strength this card had. Usage dropped to almost nothing in competitive play. Players who had invested massive amounts of gold into maxing, it were absolutely furious. That's literal months of grinding wasted on a dead card. Veterans raged about invalidated investments, and years of upgrades completely wasted. Supercell effectively forced the entire meta into fast cycle pressure strategies because economy-based gameplay got deleted from the game. The entire concept of elixir advantage buildings died with Collector. No future cards ever attempted that mechanic again because everyone learned the lesson. But the absolute worst change, it literally just happened. Magic items removal. Supercell deleted the one thing that made progression feel achievable and replaced it with nothing. Magic items were introduced as the ultimate progression boosters, books that instantly upgraded cards, wild cards that let you target specific rarities, magic coins that doubled shop value. These weren't just convenient, they were essential for free-to-play players trying to keep up. You could save a book of books for months and instantly max out a new meta card when it dropped. You could use wild cards to finish that one deck you've been working on forever. Magic coins meant you could actually afford those shop offers without spending real money. November 2025, the level 16 update drops and Supercell just deletes them. All of them. Books, gone. Magic coins, converted to flat gold that barely covers a single upgrade. Wild cards got slashed so hard they might as well not exist. And here's the kicker, they got replaced with absolutely nothing of equal value. The compensation Supercell offered was a joke. Players who had been strategically saving books and coins for the perfect moment got pennies on the dollar in return. But it gets worse. Level 16 itself was marketed as cheaper per card, but that's only true if you ignore reality. Sure, it requires fewer cards per upgrade, but the gold costs are astronomical, and gems are now the viable option at insane prices per card. Sounds manageable for 1 or 2 cards if you're a whale. Absolute nightmare for anyone trying to max a full collection. This wasn't progression improvement, this was progression demolition disguised as an expansion. Lucky chest rewards got scaled to level 16, but gold was completely removed from the high star chests, wildcards got slashed. Overflow rewards now convert to crystals, which is a cosmetic-only currency. If you're maxed on a card, any drops you get are now completely useless. Free-to-play players now need literal months per single card to reach level 16. The community absolutely did not welcome this change, even though Supercell tried to make it look like they were compensating players somehow. 2 years of grinding got completely invalidated overnight. Level 15 endgame promises broken again for the 3rd time in a row. Level 13 was supposed to be max, then level 14, then level 15, all lies. But here's what's actually going to happen. In 2 years, there will be another new level, further distancing free-to-play players from the maximum level. The worst Supercell update will always be the next one. This cycle will never end.